Welcome, everybody. 30th July 2025. It's 4:20. You get your surf report going if you catch the joke on this beautiful Thursday. No, I'm sorry, Wednesday afternoon. Anyway, let's get right to it. By the way, it's another day in YouTube, and another video gets taken down, this time on Devotion of the Blessed Mother, which was about 12 years old. And all because they didn't like one of the photo that they didn't like was graphic. They didn't show any blood, but it didn't show Islam in a good light. So that had to be taken down by the powers that be. But if you have the app, I just recorded. I literally had to film it again because I can't download any deleted videos from them. And for some reason, that one didn't get saved in the hard drive that I have. So I had to refit. I basically just screen filmed the video again. So it's up in the app. If you have the app and you go to banned by YouTube category, you'll see the video. Anyway, let's get right to this. President DJT calls for investigation into Nancy Pelosi over insider trading. Quote, Pelosi should be investigated. She has the highest return of anybody in Wall Street. How did this happen? She knows exactly what's going on, end quote. I think Nancy is okay with this. But again, as I told a friend, this is just, Days of Our Lives drama. Nothing's going to happen. Nobody goes to jail ever, but it's good distraction. Here's what's his face? Josh Haley. A congressional stock trading ban just got closer to becoming law. This Haley's ban to ban lawmakers from trading stocks, with one senator calling it legislative demagoguery, which you gotta think about if you know anything about past, like the founders in a sense. John Quincy Adams, became president, went back to the Senate because he said, quote, I can do more there than he could as president. Remember thinking that. He went from being president back in the Congress and died broke. And the feds sent him a bunch of IOUs to the family. The family pretty much wrote back saying, go pound sand. Our dad gave you 30, 40 years of his life. We're done here. So they didn't have insider trading. Most of those guys didn't get rich. Now, Franklin did complain about the presidency, saying that during the debates that he shouldn't get paid because if power and greed, while separate, won't be a big deal. But this is his words: when you combine the two, they will bring the worst out, and they will become your leaders. They will become your rulers. And obviously, look down 200 years later, and that's what we got. Here is Ron Johnson saying he opposes the bill because, quote, we make it very unattractive for people to run for office. Exactly. That would be fantastic. You don't want people who want the ambition. Hey, you know what I want to do? I want to run for office. I want to run for president. Why? Because that becomes a way to become rich. You got these ambitious people that make deals, make $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 off pretty much poo-pooing on their people. And none of those guys care about the people that live in. Now, your local guy, sure, he may not be making a lot, but guess what you can do? You know where they live. That's why they're more afraid of doing something to you when they live in your neighborhood or down an hour away or something. They know that people will get mad at them if they do that. These guys go to D.C. Hey, who's going to come to D.C. and knock on their door? Used to have apartments that these guys didn't even want to live in because they were that raggedy and bad. And now they got extravagant lifestyles in a sense. No, we do want it to become unattractive, because then maybe people of virtue might actually get in those offices when it's not ambitious and things like that. Fat dream, I know, pipe dream in a sense, but it could happen. You don't want if the people that are fighting, willed to make the money and get the power aren't very attractive to come in. That's not a bad thing at all. In our War Pigs edition, worst case scenario, a famine unfolding in Gaza declares global hunger monitor. The IPC calls for immediate action to end the siege and allow for unimpeded access to humanitarian aid. Antiwar.com, Israel forces kill 103 Palestinians in Gaza over the past 24 hours. The dead include 60 Palestinians who were killed while attempting to get aid. Now, the other day, I think yesterday we talked about, I think the number was 24. Now it's 60. Oh, let me go ahead and see what the any other highlights are on anti-war for across the globe. Only 32% of Americans support Israel's actions. Iran warns against another USA. Okay, same thing as yesterday. No U.S. stopover in Taiwanese leader. For Taiwanese leader, U.S. buying 33,000 drone modules for Ukraine. Yay! Dehumanity entering golden age of proliferators. MI6 embedded with Syria's Al-Qaeda government. As Gaza starves, Trump tells Israel to finish the job. Quote, that doesn't sound good. Polls show that Mandini's support for Palestinian rights stilled mayor primary win. That makes sense. No one's there. People don't want to. Most people don't think of killing babies by starving them as a good idea. So they'll vote for a commie just because of that. We'll get more of that in a little bit. China is building the world's biggest hydropower dam. Why is India worried? China breaks ground on what Premier Li Qian has called the project of the century, but some fear a water conflict and ecological effects. We got more on water coming up soon, too. 3 new countries warned to brace for tsunami waves. We'll talk about this water, but this was next. Yeah. After enormous undersea earthquake, I think it was one of the biggest earthquakes ever recorded. One of the strongest earthquakes ever recorded struck Russia. This was yesterday, sending tsunami waves into Japan, Hawaii, and the U.S. West Coast. Authorities warned the risk of an 8.8 magnitude quake could last for hours, and millions of people potentially in the path of the waves were initially told to move away from the shore or seek higher ground. Several people were injured, but none gravely, and no major damage has been reported. Russia's volcano starts erupting after the earthquake. Here's a photo from the sky of the volcano on the Kamchatka Peninsula in Russia's far east. The eruption occurred just hours after the huge 8.8 magnitude earthquake early Wednesday triggered a tsunami that sent waves across the Pacific, prompting blah, 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 blah. You already know all that. The quake is tied for the 6th strongest ever recorded and was upgraded from initial 8.0 reading. Congratulations, earthquake, for being accepting the challenge. They threw a challenge flag on the field, and they got the AI to come back and let them know that, no, it was bigger than an 8.0. It was, in fact, an 8.8. Drone footage shows the aftermath at the port of Severo, Russia, following the tsunami. Now at least 4 whales have washed ashore along Japan's coastline just hours after a massive 8.8 magnitude earthquake rocked the region, triggering tsunami warnings, watches, and advisories. Apparently 4 whales. Yeah, they don't. I don't think they show all 4. They show the 2. Oprah opens Maui Road to help residents flee after tsunami warning. The billionaire media mogul opened a road on her property, giving people a route to evacuate from coastal areas to higher ground, Hawaii officials said. Now, apparently she didn't at first, and people were just obviously really upset at her. And then finally she opened it up a couple hours later, which maybe she just wasn't home. I don't know. I don't know why she has I don't know how she owns a road that no one else can use. Cackles will not run for Cackles. Kamala or Kamala Harris, if you're friends with her, will not run for California governor. Well, that's good for California. The former vice president announced that she has not decided to run for California's top office. I know that people say that this is an opening door to 2028, which isn't happening. Also, in this week in the apocalypse, massive asteroid on potential impact with the moon could trigger the destructive meteor showers on Earth, according to New York Post. Details asteroid 2024 YR4, about the size of a 15-story building, has a small chance of hitting the moon in 2032 if it does. So they don't tell you that it's not going to happen until 8 years, 7 years from now. They just say, hey, yeah, thanks. We got a chance to get hit by the moon. No, in 2032. If it does, it could create a 1 kilometer wide crater, the largest lunar impact in 5,000 years, ejecting debris into space, some of which may reach Earth. The impact could also disrupt satellites in low Earth orbit for days or even months. So if you don't look at anything besides the headlines, people were freaking out. Where's asteroid about to hit the moon? Holy cow. Oh, no, they're looking at 2032. Oh, thanks for the heads up. They can't predict the weather on the weekend, but they're going to try to predict that an asteroid is going to hit the moon in 7 years. Maybe, at least they didn't pick the date. AI in Wyoming may soon use more electricity than state's human residents. Proposed data center would demand 5 times Wyoming's current power use at full deployment. Remember the eclipse that happened back, was it 2019-ish, 2018? It went through Wyoming. People from California Colorado was going. I was driving Uber. Everyone was talking about it. They had more people move into Wyoming to see the eclipse because it was tracking over. I think it tripled the population or something like that. There's not a lot of people that live in Wyoming, but still, it's very telling that the AI will do that. Pete Hegseth, the Fox News talking head that somehow became the DOD guy, has discussed running for political office in Tennessee, sources said. The defense secretary has talked privately about running a campaign in Tennessee, according to sources told NBC News. The Pentagon said Hegseth's focus remains solely on serving under Trump. Well, of course, he wants to make a big name for himself after this, and future aspirations, of course. Sorry for the people in Tennessee. Tennessee would be great to move to because they don't have a state income tax. I don't know if Hegseth became governor, I would want to live in Tennessee. So looking at that as not an option, maybe, but it is South. I don't know. I didn't know he was from Tennessee to even do that. Maybe that talks about that in there. I had zero clue. Possible campaign for governor. First time I'm reading the article, I figured it would be governor. The state has an open race for governor next year, though there might be an eligibility requirements for candidates that Hegseth might not meet. Oh. Take the leap. Campaign for office before he began. He ran for U.S. Senate seat in his home state of Minnesota in 2012. So how the heck how can he do Tennessee? Where is it out there on there? Just anything. Did he just pick it? I mean, there's no way he could become governor of Tennessee. His home's in there. I have to look that up, see how even that is even remotely possible for them to even throw that out there. No one has defined Trump like Brazil's president. Faced with threats of 50% tariffs and demands to end a criminal case, President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva said he wouldn't take orders from President Trump, which is good. Stand your ground. Do that, Brandon, Trump, Obama, whoever it is. You're a sovereign nation. Stand your ground. DJT's tariff blitz brings U.S. levies to highest level since the 1930s, when that great progressive FDR and all those were in there destroying the U.S. economy, creating world wars and putting the hammer in the nails of the original founding. Yay! Washington has locked its tariffs. It has locked in tariffs of almost 45% of American imports. But $600 to you will make everything fine. America's toy makers are in trouble because of the tariffs. Economic headwinds and U.S. trade tariff policy continue to squeeze margins and see higher costs being passed on to the consumer. Financial results released last week by America's largest toy manufacturers, Mattel and Hasbro, revealed the continued cost of the trade war and lingering uncertainty around tariffs. Divided Fed holds key interest rates steady, defying Trump's demand for aggressive cuts. It's just going to make the housing crisis even worse. The Federal Open Market Committee voted 9-2 to keep the federal funds rate set in a range between 4.25% and 4.5%. The decision was met with opposition from Governors Michelle Bowman and Christopher Waller, both of whom are advocated for the Fed to start easing. This was the first time since late 1993 that multiple governors cast no votes on a rate decision. President DJT has been pushing the central bank to cut the benchmark rate. During a news conference, Powell said the FOMC hadn't yet made a decision about what they would do at a September meeting. Again, this is why Dr. Powell has the great line of "in the Fed." Trump flirted with the idea of that, but hasn't done jack about it because it was pretty much all just blowing smoke. But yeah, the Fed holding steady at that's going to keep the housing market in a frenzy. People want obviously housing prices to go down, but with the Fed, with the rate there, again, I know people that want to sell for some reason and buy, and those, if you do the numbers on the rates, it will be like buying $1 million home for 300, 400,000, which you're starting to see a correction, especially in the South, not in the big cities, but in the South. But man, if those, I mean, selfishly, I don't have the finances to be able to pull off of buying a home. But if another year after our lease runs up, if the prices go down and the interest rates go down, and be able to get some funding for that, and be able to make it I won't have to buy a $500,000 home that looks like a ranch. Trump shot, not that I want a $500,000 home, no. Trump shocks with threat that he could take over sanctuary cities and arrest unruly mayors under martial law. I posted on Twitter, the party of Lincoln will do Lincoln things. Trump suggested he could impose martial law, which he can't do, to take control of sanctuary cities and refuse to comply with federal immigration laws. President's post to Truth Social Wednesday morning also implied that he could take action to arrest insurrectionist mayors in those cities that uphold policies making it harder for federal immigration enforcement agents to do their job. Now, if they're just standing out of the way, mayor can do anything he wants on that. They can't forcibly stop any of it. Pro MAGA account posted a black and white image of Abraham Lincoln. I did not, first time reading it, surrounded by words meant to come from the perspective of the 16th U.S. president. Sanctuary city mayors are defying federal law, it reads. They are insurrectionists just like the Southern governors during the Civil War, during Lincoln's War. Man, again, he can't do that. Lincoln couldn't do that. It was illegal what Lincoln did, and it'd be illegal what Trump does, or is even thinking about doing. But people treat him as an elected monarch. When you go to D.C., you see what? Lincoln on a temple saying, in this temple, here, and he sits there like a god. And most people treat him as a god. He was the first tyrant in U.S. presidential history. He was the reason why you don't have what the nice things you had beforehand. It's terrible. And hey, even his own party didn't vote for him. He didn't have the majority in the GOP then. Even in northern states didn't want him. So don't anybody brings up Southern, you Southern hick hayseeds. It wasn't just us that didn't want him. Nobody wanted him, and he ended up getting in. Up and run away. Radioactive wasp found in South Carolina nuclear facility. A wasp nest with a moderately high radiation level was found on the site. So if you get stung by a wasp, a radioactive wasp, do you become a wasp man? SpiderMan? That's how SpiderMan had radioactive Spider-Man. Virginia lawmaker doused with gas and set on fire a magazine where he works by man in personal attack. Virginia lawmaker was doused in gasoline and set alight at his office on a personal attack by an unhinged local man. I guess unhinged will be an understatement of the day. Danville City Councilman J. Lee Vogler, 38, was at the Showcase Magazine HQ when Shotzi Michael Buck Hayes. You don't have just the 3 names anymore. Now you got the 4. 29 stormed in around 11:30 a.m. It is alleged Hayes dumped contents of a 5-gallon container on top of Vogler before setting him alight, according to the publication's owner, Andrew Brooks. Hayes and Vogler know each other, and the attack stemmed from a personal matter, not from Vogler's role as a public official, police said. Hayes' wife, Mary Alice Buck Hayes, filed for divorce from him just 2 weeks ago. The couple only appeared to have married in 2023. This is not from The Onion. His name is Jesus. He is a carpenter. ICE arrested him. Seriously. There's a guy named Jesus, age 35, trained in Venezuela to be a civil engineer, but he lacked the credentials or English skills to pursue a profession in the United States. So he made do by working at convenience stores and delivering with DoorDash. He did all this while learning English, his former teacher, Barbara Hopkins, told me. Now, I haven't read it to see if he's illegal or what is the situation. I just thought it was a funny title on things. Chuck Kucka says, even in his asylum claim, were denied. A top immigration lawyer says that if his asylum claim were denied during the Brandon administration, it wasn't a guarantee that he would have to be immediately removed. There are cases where people receive a withholding of removal when they don't want to deport you. If you're a good person. Speaker Mike Johnson tells me the big, beautiful bill is on the correct side of morality. Quote, what we did in the big, beautiful, terrible bill is exactly along the moral standards and something we're proud to do. It comports with common sense and morality. What he's talking about. He says changes to Medicaid are being done to help those who need it most. Socialized medicine. But we don't like socialism, but yeah, socialized medicine, good. That's the right and moral thing to do. Watch the full story across the country Tuesday on the 700 Club. Figures it'd be on the 700 Club. Trump Treasury Secretary, and George Soros' right-hand man, and also a guy plays on the other team with other kids, just like Buttigieg did, says big, beautiful bill includes a backdoor for privatizing Social Security. Scott Bessent, President Trump's Treasury Secretary, said at a Breitbart event Wednesday that the Trump accounts created by the big, beautiful bill are a backdoor of privatizing Social Security. Trump accounts, including the president's massive tax and spending package, okay when MAGA does it, consist of a one-time deposit of $1,000 from the federal government to all children born in the United States from 2025 to 2028. Parents and others will be able to contribute up to $5,000 per year until the child turns 18. Mandini beats out all New York City. New York City. Yes, New York City mayoral candidates combined, says new poll. I mean, let's be honest. The rest of the people that are running for New York mayor in the Democrat Party were terrible. I mean, how many people want, hey, who do you want? You want Cuomo as your mayor? Not really. Do you want this? I mean, the people that they were running out was just awful. But I mean, not saying Mandini is great. I don't live in New York. I could care less who they have as mayor. That's the way you should be too, if you actually representing a federalist mindset and the idea. I'm in North Carolina. I don't live in New York. I don't care to ever go to New York City. New York City wants to be worse than what they are already now. That's New York City problem. But just showing that beats out, just like if Atlanta, Georgia, or somewhere in Mississippi gets a mayor, I do not care. That's the people of that city. That's their problem. That just shows the people in New York City. If there's nobody in New York City that has any kind of morality to run for New York City, do not complain if you're in New York City. Grow a spine, get involved. Trump now seriously considering pardon for Sean Combs, P-Diddy, ahead of sentencing. White House officially says nothing. Would that be something? At the same time, Epstein's going out and P-Diddy gets a pardon. Trump administration is launching a new private health tracking system with big tech's help. Yay! Don't we love a technocracy? The Trump administration is pushing for an initiative for millions and millions of Americans to upload personal health data and medical records on new apps and systems run by private tech companies promising that it would make it easier to access health records and monitor wellness. Data is the new oil. If you really think that that's going to be for your health, pass the hookah pipe. You're smoking something good. Also in technocracy stories, YouTube will begin using AI to monitor user behavior and psychology to determine whether viewers in these United States are over or under the age of 18. Used to interpret a variety of signals to help us determine whether the user is over or under 18. This includes types of videos the user is searching for, the categories of videos they have watched, or longevity of the account. So, and don't let that fool you. They do not care about your age. This is just a way to track what you're doing. Mississippi greenlights a law that forces everyone to use digital ID to access social media. No ID, no voice, which in a sense, if someone does that and you don't get on social media, hey, fine. If that gets people off, crashes Twitter and Facebook and all that, totally fine. But obviously it's not about that. Digital ID should be kind of worrisome. This is House Bill 1126, nose under the camel's nose under the tent. They will get the whole way through after. A wide-reaching age verification law with few limits. The state would compel all users to prove identity and age before creating accounts. The law doesn't carve out exceptions for protected speech. It doesn't define what counts as harmful content. It just hands the censorship stick to the state and says swing. Again, everything, by the way, is under everything like this is in the show notes. Check it out. Major sex toy leak reveals shoppers who bought them and even personal emails as company scrambles to fix bug. China buys up property in America's hottest housing market. Where is that at anyway? Nashville, huh? Manchester, Nashville. I did not know that was the hottest market. New Hampshire cities. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. The prices up there are not going down. Dodgers Yamamoto, Yamamoto. Yeah, I know Yamamoto. He pitches for the Dodgers. Hollywood Hills home targeted in attempted burglary. There was a lot of guys that played ball that are having problems with this. Why plane turbulence is becoming more frequent and more severe. I wonder if they talk about climate change. Roller coaster ride. It probably is because they're spraying the sky and it's all messed up in the sky. Bumpy North Atlantic routes, severe turbulence defined when top and down movements, planes going through. Estimates show there are about 5,000 instances of severe or greater turbulence every year. Out of a total, more than 35 million flights that now take off globally. Not going to. I kind of figured BBC, Skype stuff. They're going to talk about climate change. Every female athlete will be forced to take gene tests before World Athletic Championships after a Maine Kalof row. So I wonder if it's going to be the Nick Dundee style test, or are they just going to be having to take a shot or something? It obviously will be a DNA swab or something. Plans underway to put Robert E. Lee Monument back on display in South Carolina. It was taken away. It's in Charleston. The American Heritage Association says the Robert E. Lee Monument, which was taken down in 2021 during the whole time when everybody lost their minds and removed anything that they didn't like, will be put back up on display in Charleston County. Good. U.S. passports drop in power, report says. And it just means that I'll just read it so I won't explain it. The U.S. passport ranks as the 10th most powerful overall. This is a far cry from its first place seat in 2014. He got the throne. How he does it is accesses each country's passport based on exclusive data from the International Air Transport Association, the largest, most accurate travel place in the world. The countries a person can access with their passport, the firm notes, is more clout than it holds. Your passport is no longer just a travel document. It's a reflection of your country's diplomatic influence and international relationships. As such, Singapore ranked number 1. Japan and South Korea tied for second with 190 accessible countries. Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Ireland, Italy, and Spain all tied for third with 189 accessible countries. Rounding at the bottom were places like Iran. This is sad. I thought it did. I think Iran and I can't remember. Iran is one of them that's at the bottom of the list. Trump considering eliminating capital gains taxes on houses. Quote, if the Fed would lower the interest rates, we wouldn't even have to do that, Trump said. Get rid of it all. President DJT has confirmed that he's considering abolishing the capital gains taxes on homes. We're thinking about it, Trump said on July 22nd when he asked about the administration considering removing the tax to improve the U.S. housing market. The president added that the Fed would unleash the real estate market by lowering its interest rates. If the Fed, blah, 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 we already heard that. Tax rates for long-term capital gains, residential properties held for more than a year depend on income and range from 0% to 20%. Capital gains on homes owned for less than a year are taxed at the same rate as your ordinary income. Quote, homeowners that have to live in their homes for decades, especially seniors in places where values have surged, shouldn't be forced to stay put because of an IRS penalty. My bill unlocks that equity, helps fix the housing shortage, and supports long-term financial security for American families. Now, it's not really a housing shortage right now. It's just the housing is so high. Speaking of the water, what I brought up before, German state of Bavaria will introduce a tax on water. Quote, groundwater is our blue gold, says Minister President Söder. After months of debates, Prime Minister Markus Söder, CSU, and the cabinet decided in their last meeting before the summer break to introduce the water cent in Bavaria. The new fee is therefore uniformly 10 cents per cubic meter of groundwater pumped into the free state and is to be introduced from January 1st, 2026. Remember yesterday I brought up the tax on the sunlight? Anyways, where's that button at? Again, hit the like. There's the button. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that jazz. Thank you for listening, by the way. Go to my brother Jason's The Martyrs Walk if you're into wanting to do some Catholic boot camp, martyrswalk.com. And if you would, check out sensefidelium.tv. That's where the Sense of Fidelium app is. I'm uploading daily and fixing it weekly. Get more people up on that. Tell your friends. Ask your parish if you want to get it for like a formed style app for their parish. We can do that. It's easy to do. Anyway, click like, subscribe, hit the bell because, again, another video got taken down, which means double throttling. There's going to be a time when you might not even see something come up because they're just going to throttle everything. Eventually, they're going to run out of videos to suppress, which is good. Might kick me off too. Anyway, God bless you. Have a great rest of the day and see you tomorrow.